Hello X. Got a little story for you. 6 years ago, Dad comes home and tells the family his boss offered him a job position as CTO of one of the company's partners in Spain. The family was not really excited about it. My brother and I would lose our school friends. Mom would have to look for another job, and she would be away from our relatives. Our aunt and her were really close, and her face showed just how much that bothered her. In the time span of a week or two, Dad convinces me and my brother that it will be awesome to meet new people and that we'll be able to keep in touch with all of our friends. He also adds that we're young and we'll be able to meet new friends and that real friendship is created when you're older, yada yada. He tells us we'll be able to visit too. After all, we had many relatives here. Helps Mom find a new job in Spain and helps her overcome the anxiety of being away from our family. He calls his boss and tells him that he accepts the position. A week later, we get ready to live somewhere else. Brother cried every night about his friends and so on, but the closer the day of the flight is, the more he laughs and the more excited he looks. Mom went from, "Oh, my sister is going to miss me a lot. What about grandma, boo-hoo?" to this diva behavior of, "Yes, we will live in Europe and my husband will be the CTO." That really pissed Dad and me off, but whatever. I already told my friends. Sad at first, but we had emails and stuff, so no problem. Say goodbye to everyone and travel to Spain. This is the beginning of the story. Nothing really interesting yet, but I like telling it all because it gives some context to avoid questions later. We arrive in Barcelona. This elegant guy with a creepy and fake smile is waiting for us at the airport terminal. The Spanish accent makes my brother piss himself. He sounds so weird, even Mom smirks. Greets Dad. Something about how proud he is of meeting the new CTO, how excited the whole company is of having such an experienced worker there, and gives us some lollipops. Takes us to our new home. Modern looking 3-story house in the middle of a small hill in the rich part of Barcelona. A big ass front yard, a great pool, and there was a fireplace inside. The whole family loved it. The weird guy shows us around. Mom makes coffee and tells us to explore the house, while the adults talk about important things. Run around the house, check every room, find a playground in the backyard. My brother screamed like a furious monkey when he saw it. He screamed so much, Mom thought we were fighting. There was this trap door on the side of the house that led to the cellar. As soon as I saw it, I decided I would scare the living shit out of my brother, telling him it was filled with flesh-eating rats. He screamed some more. He was really afraid of rats, since a bald rat had bit him in the finger. Guy leaves, and we start to unpack our things. The first night, my brother and I did not sleep at all. We were so excited. We used to sleep in a bunk bed, and now we had a personal bed. Next day, Mom and Dad leave soon, 10 a.m. or so, to visit Barcelona. My brother was 8 and I was 14, so we could take care of ourselves, and we already unpacked our Game Boys. What could possibly go wrong? Half an hour later, some rings. My brother starts panicking. "Oh shit, robbers. Call Dad please, call Dad," and takes the poker from the fireplace crying. Tell him to calm the fuck down and be quiet. I would check the door and nothing would go wrong. Look through the eye hole of the door. "It's a girl, you dumbass. Are you afraid of girls?" I tell my brother. He shakes his head and lowers the poker. I tell him to leave the fucking thing in the fireplace because he's leaving ashes everywhere, and Dad is not going to be happy about it. Is there someone inside?" We hear through the door, in perfect English. She heard us talk, and now she knew we were there. I'm in Spain again, visiting my brother, and we are both writing this while talking and drinking some beers. Relax everyone, I did not die. Brother freaks out, starts shaking, and gets ready to attack. I tell him to relax as I open the door. Yup, there was a girl my age, 2 years older in fact, with a dossier full of official papers of the company. "Hi, my name is Rita, and I will be the babysitter of," and she looks at my brother, that still had the fucking poker in his hands. What a fucking scenario, I must admit. The little guy there. I'll also take care of the house. Mr. Weird Spanish surname. Called me after your parents told him that you were alone in here. Finally, my brother leaves the fucking poker, starts crying. Ooh, I was so afraid. I thought you were going to kill us, blah. Rita laughs and tells him that it's okay, that she should have called before coming, but that Mr. Surname told her it was pretty important, so she decided to come as soon as possible. I was fucking mesmerized because she was very beautiful and my hormones, and this is where things start to get interesting. Rita came home every day at 4 p.m. after school, at 10 a.m. on the weekends. We soon became friends. My brother adored her because she knew lots of magic tricks, games, and crafts. She was living with her aunt and uncle and was working to get some money to pay for her education. I did not ask about it until years later, when we were really close friends. The same day my brother asked her, "Hey, why don't you live with your mom and dad?" And I went to the cinema with her, my mother's idea. I must admit, I had a big crush on Rita. Well, Anon, my mother died and my father disappeared, so I had to move in with my uncle Raphael and my aunt Olga. She looked so sad. I felt real bad. I apologized. I should not have asked about it. It's okay, Anon. That happened years ago. I don't care anymore. Fast forward a couple of years later. Saturday, 10 a.m. Mom and Dad were away. She knocks. The happiest smile I ever saw. Anon, Raphael told me my father sent him a letter from Ecuador. My brother starts clapping and says, "We must celebrate," and starts drinking a bottle of juice while making weird sounds. We laugh. I tell her to sit down and tell me about the letter. His father sent a 10-page letter telling the family how he had to work for some rather shady individuals and that he didn't want to put Rita or the family in danger, so the only way of keeping her safe was to disappear. He talked about how he managed to pay his debt to those guys, and that he would travel to Spain in 3 or 4 weeks, but that he would not live in Barcelona, and asked her if she wanted to visit, and 5 letters of him crying and asking for forgiveness. Happy times for everyone. 4 weeks later, she visits him. A month without knowing about her. She comes back. Looks completely different. Distant, scared, always nervous. If she didn't notice you and you called her, she would jump and breathe heavily. She used to stay till 9 p.m. Now she stays until 11 p.m. or so. The whole family notices this new behavior. Mom and Dad were really worried, because it was like a member of the family by now. We decided that the best thing would be to ask her if something happened. I tell my family I would ask her. "Oh, Anon, it's nothing, you know, my father has returned. He has this shitty job and he wants me to live happily. That's why he wants me to live with Raphael and Olga, to study and live well, but I miss him, and it's a strange phase of my life. Thank you for noticing and worrying." The smile she made looked so forced. She was really unhappy. Something more than what was happening. I was sure about it. While that happened, my brother started bugging me about noises in the cellar, seeing figures approaching the home at night, Mom and Dad noticing how things went missing. Photos, little items with sentimental value, nothing valuable, but Mom cried when some of the photos of when my brother and I were toddlers disappeared. I kept telling him to fuck off and stop being paranoid. In fact, I thought it was him who hid the photos and such to scare the family. A week later, 12 p.m., he wakes me up. "What the fuck are you doing? I'm going to punch you in the He tells me to shut up and says, "Listen closely." I hear someone crying, below us, far away. For the love of God, it must be Mom again. Stop hiding the fucking photos. You motherfucker. It's not funny anymore. Oh really? Mom and Dad went to the company supper. They're not here. We looked at each other. He looked tired, pale, and sweat ran down his forehead. I started shaking and mumbling. I'm ready to know what the hell is going on. Raised his hand. He had the fucking poker. I went downstairs to grab it, and I didn't see a thing. The sound didn't come from any of the rooms, so it must come from outside. "Oh, I have this for you." Gives me a fireplace shovel. We go downstairs, switching on every light we find. We check every room. We hear the faint weeping, a little bit louder the lower we are. It must come from outside, I tell him. First, we call the police, and then we check. We call the police and go out. We check the whole perimeter of the house. And fuck me, Anon. It comes from the damn cellar. It comes from the damn cellar, I'm sure. Fuck. Approach the trapdoor. It indeed comes from inside. We decide to enter the cellar from the stairs inside of the house. We go down the stairs, slowly. Someone is crying down there, no doubt. Get ready for whatever is down there. We switch the lights on. And there was Rita, sitting on the floor, crying. Rita, what the hell is going on? I thought you left a couple hours before. I didn't, but I forgot to check the cellar and I came back and my father had a breakdown. I better call the police again and tell them it was a false alarm. Fuck, Rita. I was scared shitless, my brother says, as he goes upstairs. I help her get up. We go up, and I make a tea for her. Mom and Dad came back, saw us sitting in the sofa, comforting her. Rita, darling, take a couple weeks off. Relax for a little bit with Raphael and Olga, okay? Don't worry about the home. We will take care of it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dad drove her home. We go to sleep. 2 weeks pass. She doesn't come back. Dad makes some calls to the company members that take care about the personal workers of the executives. Raphael and Olga call, asking if we know where Rita is. Raphael, we don't know. We're looking for her too. I called Mr. another surname, asking about her, and we hear Raphael say, Ellos tampoco lo saben. They don't know either. To Olga. She starts crying and screaming. Tendríamos que haber llamado a la policía, Raphael. Esto es culpa de Ramiro. We should have called the police, Raphael. This is Ramiro's fault. Dad starts sweating, like he usually does when he's about to collapse. Who the hell is Ramiro, Raphael? They start this long-ass conversation, talking about who Ramiro is. Ramiro is Rita's father. Couple more days looking for her. Fuck it all. Ask her friends about her. Ask teachers. Ask everyone related to her. No one knows. No one fucking knows. Whole family is devastated. Days become weeks. Then the police call us. We would like to talk with every member of the family about the disappearance of Rita. It might give us some insight about the case. Dad turns pale. Okay. Thank you, sir. Tells us that we're going to help the police find Rita. That we must be sincere, no matter what. My mother, my brother, and I start crying. The police comes. Mr. Anon, we'd like to search the house for some evidence related to the case. Dad looks confused. My brother runs towards the policeman and asks him, please, for the love of God, if you know anything about Rita, please tell us. Don't worry, Mr. Anon. We'll make sure to tell you everything we know. But first, we must search the house and ask you some questions. Would you mind, Mr. Anon? They take Dad outside and ask him questions. Meanwhile, this group of policemen go downstairs to the cellar. My brother looks at me, and I look at him. It seems so surreal, how things went south so fast, without a reason. Dad comes back. Mrs. Anon, would you mind? Mom goes out. Dad looks like he's made of wax. So pale. Eyes look distant. He is all sweaty, and breathes like he's having intense chest pains. He starts scratching his head, sits down on the sofa, and looks up. Shit, Dad, are you alright? Dad. Oh, Rita. Oh, Rita, is all he said. The policeman went down to the cellar, start coming out with bags labeled evidence. Mom comes back crying with 2 women dressed in bright yellow clothes. In the back of the jackets, it says that they are members of the police's psychological help team. Mr. Anon, my brother, would you mind answering some questions? My brother leaves. Comes back in a while. Just like Dad, but he is nearly crying. Mr. Anon, me, would you mind answering some questions? I follow the cop out. I'll use a C to mark the questions the cop made, and A to mark the answers. I'll write only the relevant questions down. Do you personally know Mr. Ramiro, Rita's father? No, sir. I don't know him personally. Your father, mother, and brother talked about how Rita was different after she came back from his father's home. Is that true, Mr. Anand? Yes. Yes, it is. She looked fearful and was not the same. Your brother talked about figures in the woods, sounds, and missing objects. Our evidence team just informed us that there are, indeed, steps and materials in the zone that might indicate someone invaded the home without you noticing. Did you know something about this? What? Well, he told me, and I thought it was a story to scare me. That's all, Mr. Anand. Thank you for your help. Days later, another call from the police. We must ask more questions. This time, only Mr. Anand brother, and Mr. Anand me will be required. Mrs. Anand, thank you for your collaboration. This time, we go to the police station. Each one of us has its own little room. We go inside. After a couple of minutes, a woman comes in. She has eye circles and bags. She looks tired. She does not look friendly at all. At all. Tells me to sit down, with a voice that sounds soft, but has this hint of violence. Another guy walks in, with a couple dossiers. Shall we get started, says the guy, as he drops the dossiers on the table. She asked me the same questions the other guy asked me before, just to make sure everything's okay, and see if I remember something more to add to the case. Again, C for the police, and A for my answers. Say, please, check this dossier, and tell me if you recognize any of the stuff in the photos. Of course I do. These are our pictures. This is a turtle my grandma gave my father when he was a child. Lots of items there. They look tattered and old, but some I do not. Mainly the candles and crosses. The items you lost, right? Except the candles and crosses. She took the pictures and told the guy to write something. Yes, they are. Did you visit the cellar recently? Yes. That's where we found Rita when we heard someone crying. Nothing wrong with it? Nothing. Well, the thing is, we found your stuff at her house, inside a room that someone, maybe Rita, prepared for someone in what seemed to be a larder. Oh wait, what? Please, Mr. Anand, let us explain the whole situation. The other guy said, don't worry kid, we're doing all we can to find her. I know you're nervous, but let us do our work, and this will end up faster and happily. He smiled, and his smile looked so sincere, I immediately shut up. Sorry. The candles and crosses, we found them. She opened another dossier with an overview picture of our house, with some marked places. Here, here, and here, where we also found step marks. Also, we found them in the cellar, behind a little hollow space that we assume Rita made to hide them. You know nothing about that, right? What? No, I do not know about that. Please, check this dossier and tell me if you recognize any names, places, or people. Okay. She hands me a dossier from the National Ecuador police symbol. Pick related. I start reading. Ramiro, WXYZ. Bunch of South American surnames. Born in Ecuador, 19XX, city. Long ass list of crimes in Ecuador. A travel log of some kind. Moved to Colombia. Moved to Peru. Back to Colombia. To Ecuador. And then to Argentina, where he stayed for a long time. I know the name Ramiro. He is Rita's father. I also know they're both from Ecuador, but right now, that is the only thing I can say. I see. Keep reading, please. Again, tells the guy to write something. Check the next pages. More criminal record. More travel logs. More criminal record. The next page is a big ass, one photo on each side. Photo that they took of Ramiro the last time he got busted. He looked like shit. Eyes were red. Giant grayish bags under his eyes. Weird tattoos on his chin and forehead. Pimples, sores, a week-old beard. A black and gray, unkept mustache, and the teeth he wasn't missing were made of silver. Next page had another travel log. This time, there was a flight to Spain. Rita visited his father on X date, right? After he came to Spain, I mean. Yes. She told the guy to write something. Keep reading, please. Okay. The next page had some scans. A round-trip train ticket. Barcelona, Andalusia, Barcelona. Bought online using Rita's ID. Checked by the police. It wasn't his true ID. Said some notes, stick to it. Ramiro lived in Andalusia, it seemed. A one-way ticket. Andalusia, Barcelona. You can imagine what I felt when I saw that. I started shaking, and the guy very quickly asked me if I was alright. Not really. I'll keep reading, I said. The last pages were scans from pictures of the room and one last criminal record. Murders. Fucking murders. Then I read something that nearly made me faint. Connections to the name cartel. And the last page gave more information about said cartel. Its influence spreads across many South American countries. Deep pseudo-Catholic and occult beliefs. I looked up to the woman and the guy. My mouth was open and I could barely talk. You okay, buddy? You want a glass of water or something? We can rest for a while if, said the guy, but the woman looked at him with eyes that told him not now. Then she pointed at the door and made a drinking sign, telling him to bring me some water. Do you know if Rita had any direct connection to the cartel? No, I don't. Evidence suggests that she took photos of the room and pointed at them. Ramiro was living with her during these last months, and we think it might have something to do with her disappearance. You know anything about it? No, I do not. Also, then she looked for photos of the overview of the house. We think, judging from the material evidence that we found here, and she asked the guy for another dossier and got the blueprints of our house. In some rooms that both Ramiro and Rita entered your house at night to steal these sentimental value items. You never actually saw them inside or around the house, did you? No, I did not. I only saw Rita late at night, after her work hours, when my brother and I found her crying in the cellar. That will be all for today. Thank you for your help. I mumbled yeah, and the guy said thank you, buddy. Let's go out. You like tea? I'll get you a tea from the machine. Outside, there was my brother. He was crying and shaking while taking sips from a cup of coffee. He tried to wave at me, but all he did was flail his arm around, like it was broken. We'll wait for Dad and go home, yeah, Anon? Weeks later, police calls. We need to check something. Mr. Anon father, Mr. Anon brother, and Mr. Anon me will be needed again. Back to the police station. We meet Raphael and Olga at the lobby. A guy comes out, checking a clipboard. Aunt and uncle of Rita, Mrs. Olga and Mr. Raphael, and the family of Mr. Anon, right? Please follow me. He leads us to a big room. Inside, the woman and the guy that asked me the questions, two other guys, my brother and father, said that they were the guys that asked them questions, and two South American guys wearing a tie suit with the National Ecuador Police badge. I'll make this part brief because we don't really want to remember, and because everyone is mad, waiting for some closure. The Ecuador police guys hand out a dossier to each of us. Before you open the dossier, we must warn you that it has some rather disturbing images, but we also would like to add that it will help us with the case if you help us to confirm our hypothesis. We open the dossier. There she was, dead, naked, found in the outskirts of a fucking village in Ecuador a couple days before, stabbed in the neck, full of black markings, mugshots of Ramiro, recently taken, even more fucked up than before, more tattoos, taken in Ecuador. He got busted before they found the body, with some more people in a house nearby, yelling and screaming about the black goat, painting the markings on the body of the victim on the walls, and throwing rocks at the neighbors. Can you confirm the lady is Rita, WXYZ? Olga starts crying. Raphael goes apeshit, screaming in Spanish that he is going to kill him. My father looks down and quietly says yes. My brother looks up and screams yes. I look at them and nod, and that is the story, dear fellows of X. Sorry about not pre-writing it. Sorry about the wait. Here is one my father has told people every time someone brings up demons or paranormal activity. Rural area in Maine. There's an old abandoned house, a field away from a back road outside of town. Sometimes you can see it from the road. Sometimes it's not there at all. One night, when my father was in his 20s, him and a couple of friends went to explore the house and see if any of the rumors were true. The house was supposedly cursed with black magic. 2 officials hold seances in the basement and sacrifice animals and people in an attempt to gain dark power and summon demons. It being invisible sometimes is also a rumor. It's there. Doesn't seem magical from a distance. As my father and his 3 friends start walking up the porch, my father is filled with a flight or fight response that unnerves him deeply. Guys, what if there's hobo junkies or a predator animal? We gotta at least open the front door, man. Don't be a pussy. One of my father's friends, Dan, is leading the 4 of them. As he creaks open the door, he winces in disgust. Oh man, it smells horrible in here. As they gather in the entry room, my father smells it too. It smells like a rotting corpse. Something he had experienced in the woods when he was younger. Dead deer. His spidey senses are going fucking nuts. Leave, go, 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 go. Guys, we should just leave. This does not feel right. Relax, man. It's probably a dead raccoon or something like that. My father notices there is random chicken wire all over the house at first glance. Like some critter used to live in the house, and the chicken wire kept it from going where the owner did not want it to. But it's set up tall, human height. One of the guys says, "What the fuck is with this fencing shit?" The same dread my father has been feeling suddenly hits the group. Something is rustling and moving upstairs. Dan says fuck it, let's go see what that is, and then we'll leave. The staircase is at the center of the building, with walls on both sides. All anyone can see upstairs is off-white wall with some water stains. Dan starts going first. My father is in last place, at the bottom of the stairs. He looks toward the kitchen and notices some of the chicken wire has long black hair on it. Too long to be any animal he's ever heard of. He looks back to the stairs as Dan is finally reaching the top. Dan, the courageous tough guy, peeks to the left and stops in his tracks. He turns around, white as a ghost. He is hyperventilating and starting to cry. We need to... Everyone starts running for their lives before he can even finish his sentence. My father is the first one out of the building, and as the others follow, Dan starts shouting, "Run, run, run, get back to the fucking car." As they pile in and leave in a panic, Dan is now crying like a baby. What the fuck did you see, man? Now trying to choke back tears in a state of severe post-trauma distress, Dan starts struggling to describe. It was like a fucking pig, man. A giant fucking pig. What the fuck? He snaps a bit, but it was a dude, walking like a person with hair and shit. He starts really sobbing and breaks down a bit. Its fucking eyes, man. It was like stealing my soul. It had no fucking eyes. He just keeps crying like a baby, as everyone sits in bewilderment. They never speak of it again, too terrified of what is even happening at the house. My father says years later, Dan took his own life after a long downward spiral that started that day, as if it really did steal his soul. He can't sit through any media related to pigs or demons without feeling deeply unnerved, like when he first started walking up to the house. I have the body of a pig utterly terrifies him as well. He refuses to ever watch it again. Sorry it took me so long to respond. Somerset County, somewhere in the woods between Skowhegan, Madison, and Norridgewock. My father intentionally refuses to tell anyone exactly where it is, out of fear that he may be sending someone to their death, whether it be for a demon or people crazy enough to fake a demon. Route 201 in Skowhegan has a road sign facing east advocating the local municipality that's just a straight up inverted pentagram for a symbol. with wholesome pictures in each point, so the satanic cult theory might be true. I can't find any pictures of it online, but I'm sure you can find it in road view in Google Maps. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes as well, and thinking all about it makes my stomach turn. The people and leadership in Somerset County are so psychotic and selfishly ego-stroking that I have half a mind to say it really is cursed with some satanic magic. Everybody in Maine hates Skowhegan and the surrounding area as well. It's fucked in a way that can only be understood by living there.